Hello and welcome back to our channel to watch the most exciting daytime TV shows every day. We're revealing the drama that could unfold next week, bringing incredibly tense tragedies ahead of Marie's arrival. Let's delve deeper into the complex web of power, betrayal, and survival in Genoa. What surprises will Marie have in store for Nick? So let's dive straight into the heart of the impending chaos. The atmosphere inside the executive offices of Jabot Cosmetics is suffocatingly heavy, burdened by the ghosts of the past and the terrifying uncertainties of the future. Jack Abbott sits behind the expansive mahogany desk, staring blankly at a mountain of corporate documents that seem entirely meaningless in the grand scheme of his current existence. The patriarch of the Abbott family is still bearing the profound physical and psychological scars from his recent, harrowing ordeal involving the sociopathic Dr. Lawrence Markham and the deeply disturbed Patty Williams. Although his physical wounds are slowly healing and the perpetrators have been apprehended, the emotional toll of being held hostage and manipulated has left Jack in a state of profound vulnerability. He is a man desperately trying to project strength to the world, to Diane, and to his employees, but internally, he is fracturing under the immense weight of John Abbott's pristine legacy and the escalating civil war threatening to tear his family apart. The silence of the office offers no solace. It only amplifies the deafening roar of his own anxious thoughts regarding the catastrophic trajectory of his younger brother. The oppressive silence is suddenly broken by the elegant, unannounced arrival of Nikki Newman. Having recently begun to recover her vision after a terrifying period of blindness, Nikki moves with a renewed sense of purpose and a sharp, observant grace. The historical bond between Jack and Nikki is a complex, labyrinthine tapestry woven from past romances, enduring friendships, mutual betrayals, and a shared understanding of the crushing pressures that come with leading Genoa City's most powerful dynasties. Nikki has come to Jabot under the guise of checking on Jack's recovery, a gesture of genuine care from a woman who understands the trauma of near-death experiences better than anyone. As she steps into the luxurious office, her sharp, newly restored gaze immediately pierces through Jack's carefully constructed facade. She does not just see the powerful CEO of Jabot, she sees a deeply exhausted man drowning in an unseen, agonizing crisis, a man standing on the precipice of a decision that could alter the landscape of their lives forever. Jack instinctively attempts to deflect her piercing scrutiny, desperately trying to push Nikki away before she can unearth the turmoil brewing beneath his surface. He offers polite, rehearsed reassurances about his physical rehabilitation and speaks warmly of his emotional reunion with Diane Jenkins, hoping to steer the conversation towards safer, more superficial waters. He insists that he is merely overwhelmed by the backlog of corporate duties and requests to be left alone with his work. However, Nikki is a veteran of psychological warfare, and she recognizes every subtle tell, every defensive posture, and every evasive glance that Jack exhibits. She refuses to be dismissed so easily, stepping deeper into his sanctum and pressing him with a relentless, gentle interrogation. She knows that Jack's current distraction has nothing to do with quarterly earnings or supply chain logistics, and she stubbornly anchors herself in the room, demanding that he drop the armor and confess the true source of his profound distress. Under the weight of Nikki's relentless and compassionate pressure, Jack's formidable defenses finally crumble. The psychological relief of having a confidant who exists outside the immediate, suffocating echo chamber of the Abbott family is intoxicating, and Jack begins to unravel the terrifying reality of his brother's descent into corporate madness. He details the shocking revelation that Billy has unearthed, a deeply buried, historical secret from the Chancellor archives. Jack explains the existence of an ancient, unpaid loan provided by their late father, John Abbott, to Philip Chancellor II, a financial lifeline that saved Chancellor Industries from total bankruptcy decades ago. The loan carried a devastating 20-year default clause, a ghost from the past that Billy is now weaponizing to claim absolute ownership of the entire Chancellor Empire. Jack's voice trembles with a mixture of rage and sorrow as he outlines the sheer audacity of Billy's claim and the explosive ramifications it holds for everyone involved. As the confession deepens, Jack paints a grim picture of Billy's current psychological state, describing a man completely consumed by a dark, sociopathic obsession with power and validation. He explains how Billy is executing a scorched earth campaign, blindly destroying relationships and trampling over anyone who stands in his way. Jack highlights the severe collateral damage being inflicted upon Lily Winters and Kane Ashby, who are desperately fighting to protect their positions and the company they love. More importantly, Jack agonizes over the tarnishing of John Abbott's honorable legacy, a reputation built on integrity that Billy is now dragging through the mud of a hostile, vindictive takeover. Jack recounts the heartbreaking, failed interventions led by himself, Ashley, and Tracy, expressing his profound exhaustion as a patriarch who is rapidly running out of ways to save a brother who is actively sprinting toward his own destruction. The core of Jack's agonizing dilemma is finally laid bare in the quiet confines of the office. He confides an explosive secret to Nikki, revealing that Lily Winters has approached him with a desperate, highly lucrative counteroffer to end the madness. Lily is willing to leverage vast resources to pay off the historical loan in its entirety, including decades of accumulated, astronomical interest, thereby completely neutralizing Billy's legal claim to Chancellor Industries. Jack explains the immense financial and moral weight of this proposition. It is a golden parachute, a definitive legal maneuver that would instantly terminate the corporate civil war, pride, and restore stability to the business landscape of Genoa City. The offer represents a clean, undeniable solution to a problem that threatens to drag the Abbott name into endless, humiliating litigation. However, the devastating consequences of accepting Lily's buyout are what truly paralyze Jack. He knows with absolute certainty that if he signs off on this deal, he effectively castrates Billy's ambition, stripping him of the ultimate prize he has sacrificed his morality, his relationships, and his sanity to attain. Jack realizes that this action would not be viewed by Billy as an act of familial protection, but as the ultimate, unforgivable betrayal by his own flesh and blood. It would permanently sever their fraternal bond, potentially pushing Billy over the edge into an irreversible darkness from which he might never return. Jack is agonizing over the impossible choice between preserving his father's honorable legacy and saving his brother's fragile soul, acutely aware that taking the buyout might inadvertently trigger a catastrophic psychological break in Billy. Nikki listens intently, fully absorbing the magnitude of this Abbott family crisis and the terrible burden resting on Jack's shoulders. Stepping fully into her role as a seasoned confidant, Nikki draws upon her own extensive experiences with family betrayal, the ruthless tactics employed by Victor, and the heavy, often isolating burden of dynastic leadership. She offers Jack a stark, unfiltered perspective on the absolute necessity of making agonizing choices for the greater good, even when those choices inflict profound pain on the people they love. She reminds him that true leadership often requires a ruthlessness that contradicts familial affection, and that protecting the Abbott legacy might necessitate breaking Billy's heart to save his life. The tension in the executive office thickens into an almost palpable entity as Jack absorbs her counsel, the realization dawning on him that inaction is no longer a viable option, and the fate of two massive corporate empires, as well as his brother's sanity, rests entirely upon the stroke of his pen. Miles away from the luxurious, high-stakes environment of Jabot, a very different kind of battle for survival is taking place within the sterile, oppressive walls of the local rehabilitation center. The clinical setting stands in stark contrast to the corporate world, representing a claustrophobic purgatory where Nick Newman is fighting a grueling, minute-by-minute war against his own internal demons. The lingering, terrifying shadows of his recent fentanyl overdose at the seedy motel continue to haunt his waking hours, while his sleep is plagued by horrific nightmares orchestrated by his subconscious fears of Matt Clark's toxic legacy. Nick is profoundly isolated in his struggle, battling the relentless, agonizing cravings that threaten to consume his mind and body, pulling him back toward the abyss of addiction that nearly claimed his life. Following a highly emotional and devastatingly tense visit from Sharon Rosales, Nick is left in a state of extreme psychological fragility. Sharon's desperate, fierce attempts to shield him from the toxic gravity of Matt Clark have only served to heighten his anxiety, especially after she revealed the earth-shattering secret that the woman he overdosed with, Marie Kirkland, is actually Matt Clark's biological half-sister. The weight of this revelation hangs over Nick like a suffocating shroud, intertwining his fragile recovery with the dark, criminal bloodline of his family's greatest tormentor. Desperate to stave off the encroaching darkness and silence the chaotic noise in his head, Nick turns his attention to a complex, sprawling jigsaw puzzle spread across a table in the recreation room. The puzzle serves as a desperate, tangible metaphor for his current existence, a meticulous attempt to piece his shattered life back together, one agonizing, disjointed fragment at a time. The heavy, isolating silence of the recreation room is unexpectedly broken by the quiet arrival of Marie Kirkland. She enters the space carrying her own immense burden of psychological trauma, her entire world having been violently upended by Sharon's revelation regarding her true parentage. Marie is currently navigating a profound, terrifying identity crisis, grappling with the horrifying reality that she shares blood with a notorious criminal who has inflicted unspeakable pain upon the Newman family. Despite her internal devastation and the overwhelming guilt by association she now carries, Marie approaches Nick with a quiet, tentative grace, seeking a fragile connection in the shared purgatory of their rehabilitation. She is a woman desperately searching for an anchor in a reality that has suddenly become entirely unrecognizable. Marie slowly takes a seat beside Nick, her presence altering the heavy atmosphere of the room. She quietly observes his struggle with the puzzle, gently reaching out to offer a fresh perspective, sliding a crucial piece into its rightful place. This silent, collaborative effort creates a temporary bridge between their fractured souls. Marie softly breaks the silence, offering a profound, tearful, and incredibly heartfelt expression of gratitude to Nick. She acknowledges with raw honesty that Nick saved her from a grim, fatal destiny during their harrowing overdose ordeal at the motel, performing CPR when her heart had stopped. She looks at him not as a broken addict, but as her personal savior, a stark and agonizing contrast to how Nick currently views his own ruined, failing existence. With a newfound fierce determination burning in her eyes, Marie reveals her absolute intent to embrace her recovery and completely change the tragic trajectory of her life. She refuses to be defined by the sins of her newly discovered brother or the darkness of her past substance abuse. Her profound gratitude and unwavering commitment to sobriety provide Nick with a desperate, unexpected glimmer of hope, serving as a poignant reminder that his actions, even in his darkest moments, can still yield positive, life-saving outcomes. However, beneath this tender, healing moment lies a terrifying undercurrent of danger. Nick remains acutely, painfully aware of the toxic bloodline she shares with Matt Clark, a biological connection that makes her a walking trigger for the trauma that has plagued his family for decades. The tension in Genoa City reaches a terrifying boiling point as these parallel narratives converge toward inevitable disaster. At Jabot, Jack Abbott's hand hovers agonizingly over the legal documents that would accept Lily's buyout, completely unaware that pushing Billy into a corner will only accelerate his brother's unseen, lethal plot to orchestrate a fatal medical accident for their mother, Jill. Meanwhile, at the rehabilitation center, as Nick and Marie share a fragile, healing bond over the completed puzzle, a dark shadow falls over their temporary sanctuary. In a moment of quiet reflection, Marie unknowingly drops a cryptic, seemingly innocent detail about her brother's past, a chilling piece of information that connects Matt Clark directly to the impending corporate massacre surrounding Chancellor Industries. This revelation leaves Nick paralyzed with dread, realizing that the true nightmare is not behind them, and the explosive collision of these family secrets is only just beginning.